Object of Power number 10-KE, the Songmaster Jukebox. It was my original intention to cover all altered items sequentially before moving to OOPs. However, in light of a recent secondary line of investigation, I felt the need to explore this particular object of power. For all of those listening to me thinking I'm off the reservation, you'll see why I found this particular one important. The jukebox was acquired on May 8, 1998 from a Texas roadside diner. The altered effect involves translocation when the device plays a specific tune. Quote, "When this record is played in the object, anyone within earshot is translocated for as long as the album is playing." End quote. The start of the tune was later learned to be triggered by placing a jukebox token into the object. Not any token will do. These tokens appear at random in the area surrounding the object. The specific radius from the object these tokens appear has not been measured. During the incident in the diner, the patrons found themselves taken to a tropical beach. There is no confirmation of whether this was a real location on Earth or if the beach exists somewhere else. After this incident, the Bureau investigated the OOP and returned it to the oldest house for further study. Those responsible for testing this object determined that it transported anyone involved to a different location. Instead of a tropical beach, it created a pathway to a certain section of the quarry threshold. All rangers who attempted to chart a path between the entrance in maintenance and the entrance formed by the OOP have failed. Observation: the destination for these translocative events appear to be geographically based. 2 destinations have been documented. According to the Containment document, quote, "When this object is used in the oldest house, it only transports users to an area located in the recently manifested quarry threshold." End quote. While this seems to be the case within the oldest house, there has been no confirmation of other locations outside these walls. It is the belief of the research staff that the location within Quarry Site Beta has a specific property which attracts various things, including the exit point for OOP-10. Quote, "Researchers theorize that this site's unique spatial density results in all transitioning material gravitating to its position, as has been observed with other Bureau equipment. The oldest house's unique nature could also be having an effect on the object itself." End quote. Research proposal: once the building lockdown is lifted, the OOP can be tested to see the extent of this effect. Stage 1 is to place the jukebox right outside the house's doors in a sound-insulated box. When the object is activated, we can determine if the destination is different from the quarry or the beach. If it is the beach, it would imply the default location this object goes to is the beach. If it is somewhere else entirely, it would be prudent to deploy a full geographical team to determine if it exists on Earth. At that point, revisiting the initial diner along with other locations would be recommended. If the jukebox still leads to the Quarry Site Beta, then the experiment would be conducted at 1-mile increments leading away from the oldest house. Addendum: upon further reflection, it would be better to have a mobile lab that is soundproofed for this experiment. This way, a field lab would not need to be constructed in all locations. Upon containment, access to the jukebox was not restricted. Coupled with tokens appearing at random, the Bureau had no real way to prevent unauthorized use at that time. There is a record of 2 agents using the object of power to travel to Quarry Site Beta. There, they engaged in inappropriate workplace behavior. Their bodies were later found after they did not return by the end of the song. At that point, the current head of security, Lynn Salvador, had the jukebox relocated right outside of the boardroom in Central Executive. This way, access to the object can be monitored by upper staff members. Based upon evidence uncovered, there may have been other unofficial use of OOP-10 that was not recorded. If 2 agents could access it without notice, others may have as well. To this day, the jukebox has not moved from its current location. However, various curiosities surround it. For example, it is classified as an object of power, meaning that it can be bound. Prior attempts by Bureau staff have been made to try and bind it. Quote, "This object is not bound to any known individual. Attempts by Bureau staff to bind it have resulted in and should not be attempted again." End quote. Supposition: while I have not covered the hotline in these reports yet, something referenced in it seems familiar. When OOP-3 was bound to the director, no one else could answer the phone. If they do, bad things happen. If Bureau staff attempting to bind the jukebox experience something similar, it may imply this object of power is already bound to an unknown individual. If this happens to be true, there is no direct evidence to support the identity of this individual. However, there is one line of inquiry that may be worth exploring. Prior to acquisition, an interesting admission was received from the diner's owner. Quote, "In an interview with the diner's owner, it was discovered that the album in the object had been replaced the day before the event by a service responsible for the machine's upkeep, who left only a single record inside. Agents attempted to track down Blessed Repair and Service, but could find no company by that name in the state." End quote. In prior reports, references to the Blessed have been mentioned, such as in AI-43. Evidence of unknown third parties have also shown involvement, such as with AI-46. A new case file was sent to the investigation sector to look into the so-called Blessed organization. Unfortunately, the investigation order redacted the name of the department head. I presume William Kirkland was in charge at this time, as the object was acquired in 1998. William S. Powers was head of investigation back in the 50s and 60s. No other heads have been named between these two spaces of time. According to the Containment Procedures document for OOP-10, the name of the record is A Song for the Others. The name of the artist is redacted. The Others is a name only briefly mentioned by an unknown agent from the communications department. On a whiteboard, reference to a golden space helmet creating a link to The Other was written. No one has come forward to claim responsibility. Further information on this can be found in a mysterious presentation labeled 067.66. These presentations were uncovered while in external communication, but their origin is unknown. Whoever made these seems to know more than I. Supposition. Based upon this information, it appears that the Blessed Organization is responsible for the creation of OOP-10. By placing the record into a random jukebox, it was altered. A Song for the Others is what plays. Who or what the others is not known. If we take this into account and the possibility that someone else has already bound the object, I have an idea. Would it be out of the question for someone from this Blessed Organization to be bound to it? Because of this, any Bureau staff who attempt to bind it suffer for it just like anyone who answers the hotline. Given our current state, there's no way to confirm this. Our last piece of evidence to suggest a third party's involvement in the jukebox was reported by the new director after her excursion into Quarry Site Beta. Off in the distance, hovering above one island, is a structure with NSC-01 written on the side. This is in reference to the power plant in the maintenance sector, the Northmore Sarcophagus Chamber. Former Director Broderick Northmore was housed inside to contain his immense power and siphon it as an energy source for the oldest house. At some point in the past, Northmore exhibited a new power which caused the original NSC to vanish. Northmore was eventually subdued and NSC-2 was built to house him. While no official records reported what happened exactly, we do know that the remains of the original NSC was transported to Quarry Site Beta, the same location that the jukebox links to. Supposition. It is unknown if this is simply a coincidence caused by the formation's ability to attract things to it, the jukebox and Northmore's ability being taken to the same place due to the physics of the formation. The other possibility is that there is a connection between the arrival of OOP-10 to the oldest house and the incident with NSC-1. No timeline was ever given on when Northmore's escape occurred. I would be interested to see if there was some overlap between the jukebox's arrival in the house and this incident. At this point, there are far too many hypotheticals to make a definitive conclusion on these suppositions. However, there is obviously more than meets the eye in this entire string of events. From an object of power being artificially created, to the mystery regarding the other, a stretch of time where OOP-10 was used freely by anyone without the Bureau's knowledge, to Northmore's escape and the NSC just seemingly going to the exact same place the jukebox teleports the listener to. I know that I seem to be hyperfixating on patterns that may or may not be there, but at this point, I don't think anyone can ignore it. There must be something here, and I intend to get to the bottom of it. I've come to suspect there are some bad actors within these walls. Could this seemingly random domino of events be related to them? Should I keep it to myself or publish these findings? Either way, we're all trapped here while the rest of the world is kept safe from what is inside. With no vent, the pressure is building in here. How long before the container can no longer hold it back?